Good morning, everybody. My name is Councillor Julie Gooding and I'm Chairman of the Licensing and Appeals Committee. The other members, please introduce yourself.
Councillor Lonnie Shaw.
Councillor Mike Skill.
And the committee's legal advisor today is Mr. Chris Irwin. I'm just going to run through the emergency evacuation procedures. Should we be required to evacuate the building, would you please leave the building by the nearest available exits to the chambers. Our assembly point will be in the public car park at the side of the Civic Suite. Please do not delay your evacuation to collect any belongings and do not return to the building until given permission to do so by council staff. Please note that this meeting will be audio recorded and can also remind you to switch off your mobile phones or turn them to silent. Thank you. Before we start, can everybody present make sure they've switched off their phones? The committee will follow the procedures set out and the procedural notice at item 3 on the agenda. The purpose of this hearing today is to consider an application for a temporary event notice made by Crafty Crafts. I would like to remind all parties that this appeal is not open to the public. Anything discussed remains private and confidential. Please could the applicant introduce himself?
My name is John Smith and I'm the Crafty.
Do you have any witnesses to call, Mr. Smith? Please could the council's licensing officer introduce himself?
Good morning, I'm Stephen Greener, I'm the licensing officer for the Rochford District.
And please could the responsible authority introduce themselves?
Good morning, my name is Siobhan Sheridan, Rochford District Council Environmental Health.
And my name is Jane Spink, Rochford District Council Environmental Health.
Do you have any witnesses you wish to call?
No.
Have all parties received the agenda and report of today's hearing? Please could all parties be reminded that each have 15 minutes to present their case. Could Mr. Greener summarise the application?
Good morning, this is a temporary event notice application made under Section 100 of the Licensing Act. The issuing and the determination of this hearing must be in accordance with paragraph 26(1) of the Licensing Act 2003, Hearings Regulations 2005 and Section 105 paragraph 4 of the Licensing Act 2003. An application was submitted by Mr. John Smith using the electronic government portal on the 28th of November 2019. The application was received and passed to Essex Police Licensing Team and Rochford District Council Environmental Health Team on the 28th of November with a consultation deadline of the 3rd of December 2019. In summary, the application is to extend the existing licensable activities within the premises known as Crafty Casks, 33 Eastwood Road, Rayleigh, Essex, postcode SS6 7JD. The premises already holds a premises licence under licence number RDC 19-00215/LAPRE, where the licensable activity on the premises licence as it stands allows the sale of alcohol only between the hours of 12 o'clock lunchtime until 23:30 hours Monday to Sunday. A copy of the premises licence application of the premises licence is attached as Appendix B. The temporary event application is to extend the existing licence, as I've already stated. I've broken it down by two parts. One which relates to regulated entertainment, which is from 11 o'clock through to 1 o'clock, and for the sale of alcohol from 11:30 until 1 o'clock in the morning. The reason why I've broken that down is because under the live music deregulation Providing you have an alcohol premises licence, you do not need to have regulated entertainment of recorded or live music on your licence up to 11 o'clock. So that's why it's been broken down into the two. The application is for up to 100 persons to be present in the premises at any one time. Under the representations, no representations was made by Essex Police, and an objection notice was received by the environmental health team on the grounds that the use of the premises in accordance with the temporary event notice would undermine the public nuisance objective of the Act. A copy of the objection notice is attached under Appendix C. All parties have been served with the relevant notices and documentation and the rights of the people to attend the hearing and to be represented. Under the legal implications, we refer you to the Licensing Act 2003, the Licensing Act 2003 Hearings Regulations 2005, and the guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licence Act. And finally, the Statement of Licensing Policy approved by full council for the period of January 2005 to, is the incorrect dates. That should be 2016 to 2021. So please accept my apologies for that under paragraph 6.1. The licensing authority must serve any notices required under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003 at least 24 hours before the beginning of the event. The recommendation for the committee is where the subcommittee supports the representation from Environmental Health and considers it necessary to give the counter notice for the promotion of the public nuisance objective, give the premises user and Rochester District Council Environmental Health team a counter notice and a notice stating the reasons for their decision. Where the subcommittee does not support the representation and does not consider it necessary to give the counter notice for the promotion of public nuisance objective, give the premises user and Rochester District Council Environmental Health team a notice of their decision and a notice stating their reasons. And that concludes the report.
Thank you. Mr Green, just for clarification, can you assure us the 100 people that you've mentioned, has that been passed by the authorities, the amount of people for that premises?
This is what has been requested on the application. Any sort of numbers around capacity is under the fire regulations rather than the licensing. So it's down to the fire regulatory authority to consider those numbers suitable, and it would obviously be down to the applicant to make sure that risk assess the right numbers capable of giving premises of that.
Thank you. Now? Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have?
No, thank you. It's on. Don't have to write. No, Mike.
Can I ask, there are complaints regarding noise from these premises. Can we have more detail of those, please?
It's not the right way. It's environment. It's got to be that's all. We're not on them yet.
Okay.
You can keep yours on, Julie.
Do any other parties have any questions on what Mr Green has said? I've forgotten what Chiffon's authority called. Yeah. Can I ask the responsible authority to represent their submissions, please?
Okay, thank you. So just to give you some background in regards to why we've arrived at today's hearing. So Crafty Cast is a licensed premises, and the premises is located at 33 Eastwood Road. It has residential premises directly above and to the side, and obviously surrounding properties in the area. The premises was granted planning permission for change of use, so it hasn't always been a licensed premises. And conditions at the time of granting that planning application, one of the conditions was prior to the use of the building, the envelope of the building shall be insulated against the egress of internally generated noise. The purpose of this condition is to ensure the development does not have a detrimental impact on the occupiers of the neighbouring properties in terms of noise. Unfortunately, these works have not been undertaken, and whilst Mr Smith has had sound insulation test at the premises, this only demonstrates that the ceiling of the premises attenuates 65 dB and that no consideration has actually been taken in regards to the transmission of noise through flanking walls, so the outside walls. No testing has been undertaken in regards to other ways that noise can be transmitted to nearby residential premises. The premises opened to the general public at around the end of October, beginning of November, and then I first received my first complaint on the 4th of November, so the premises had, relatively newly opened. I'd received a number of complaints from 5 separate complainants, typically after the licence holder had had a live music event at the premises. I visited Mr Smith at the premises on Thursday the 21st of November to discuss the nature of the complaint, and then emailed Mr Smith on Thursday the 26th of November to advise him again that I'm continuing to receive noise complaints and that noise monitoring would be undertaken. So on Saturday the 30th of November, I visited one of the complainant's property as I was anticipating the licensed premises was going to have music. But this was not the case. At the time of my visit, although no music could be heard playing in the bar, I could hear muffled voices of the patrons in the busy bar below within the complainant's property. I revisited the complainants again on Wednesday the 4th of December as the premises was advertising an open mic night. Which I anticipated, given the nature of the event, may give rise to unreasonable noise levels within the complainant's property. Monitoring was undertaken and amplified music and amplified voices could be heard within the complainant's property. A noise abatement notice was subsequently served following that visit. Given the 10s is for New Year's Eve, I do not feel that the licence holder would be able to fulfil the licensing objectives in regards to public nuisance, and for this reason, Environmental Health have objected to the 10s.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have, please. You've said you've gone into these properties. Have you put a noise limiter in to see the level of, to find out exactly the level of the noise that's coming through?
I haven't put in a noise meter at this stage. In regards to statutory nuisance, it's based on the average person. So it's a subjective test by an officer. And as I say, it just reinforces the planning conditions as well that are required in regards to unreasonable interference with the material enjoyment of somebody's property. So as I say, statutory nuisance is a subjective test. It's not set by a decibel level.
Thank you.
The residents, are they immediately above these premises, or is there a level between?
There's obviously, without disclosing who the complainants are, which would be unfair on the complainants, there are, as I say, a number of complainants that have complained at various levels in the vicinity of the building.
So there's 5 that the authority have said for starters.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go.
And have you got actual evidence of these complaints, or are they just telephone calls?
The complainants have contacted me. Well, they've obviously been in contact with a local councillor, and the advice given to the local councillor was for them to contact me direct so I could discuss the nature of the complaint. People can be affected in different ways, depending on how they use their property, the amount of time they spend at the property. So somebody, may work nights and not necessarily be affected by the noise. However, somebody may be there sort of on a more frequent basis, so the effect may be different and that's why it was necessary for me to speak to the complainant complainants on an individual basis to assess in regards to who's most likely to be affected unreasonably from the noise, in order for me to make the most appropriate visit to the most appropriate premises in regards to monitoring.
Right, thank you.
The complaints, are they for mostly evening time? I'm just trying to assess the time-wise that the complaints are regarding to.
So all the complainants that I've spoken to, generally they follow on from where there's been live music at the premises, in regards to where obviously they've had singers or amplified music at the premises. But obviously one of my complainants is more affected than others in regards to you can hear the noise directly from the bar. But predominantly the majority of the complaints have followed on from where there's been a live music event at the premises.
So evenings. So evenings, I take it the live music.
Is it every evening?
Do we know if the live music is once a week or is it every night?
So according to the complainants, it's most Fridays and Saturday nights, but also the use of the premises has increased in regards to they now, from my understanding, have open mic nights because they don't have regulated entertainment and they benefit from the deregulation of the Live Music Act. They can have music Monday through to Sunday from 8 in the morning through to 11 o'clock at night, without obviously having to notify the local authority. So it's that ability that they've got in order to have music at the premises.
Thank you. Does anyone have any more questions?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay. Move on to 18. Could the applicant please provide the submissions that you have? Oh, okay. Sorry, before I just move on, do any of the other parties have any questions?
Can I ask a question? When you visited on the Wednesday,
Can you put
Can
the
you buy
mic
a
on,
com?
please?
sorry?
Could you put the mic on, please?
When you visited on the Wednesday, you found that the noise was excessive, I take it. Did you find the noise was excessive?
It was unreasonable, and
Right.
that's why notice was served on likelihood in regards to an occurrence of stat nuisance.
Because of the live music and the amplified speech.
It was the amplified element, but
Okay.
obviously the voices within the bar is a separate issue under planning. So.
On the Saturday you visited, did you find that the noise was excessive when we didn't have the live music?
In regards to stat nuisance or the
Yeah,
planning so stat nuisance, it didn't meet the threshold on Saturday. However, in regards to the planning conditions, I felt that it was unreasonable for someone to be experiencing that, but that's obviously a separate matter. But in regards to the Wednesday when I visited, the levels were unreasonable. When I can hear somebody in a residence property on the microphone thanking people and it's clearly audible, then you're stepping into the realms of unreasonable, material interference with somebody's property.
Right. I mean, because you didn't measure things, it's impossible for you to say.
Do you have a question?
Yes, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah. When it's your time for the presentation, you can then go on to say that. But if you have any questions, please raise the questions.
Okay, no, that's all I wanted to
No further
establish.
questions. Okay. Do any of the other members have any?
Have you got any more?
No? Does any other party wish to clarify anything? No? Yeah. Okay, can I ask Mr Smith to make your submissions now, please?
Okay. As far as the planning aspect is, can I talk about the planning aspect?
If it's relevant to this Thames licence.
I made an application for the discharge of the planning conditions on the 3rd of September, and I was supposed to get a decision within 8 weeks. It's now been more than 14 weeks and I haven't heard anything. I believe that my proposal was a good one. The only guidance I was given from planning, they referred me to the building regulations part E, which says that for a conversion, the attenuation should be greater than 43 decibels. Now, I had so that I had a starting position to work from, I had some tests carried out, and it was found that the noise attenuation was 65 decibels, which is more than 20 dBs above the building regulations. The figure of 20 decibels is a logarithmic figure, which means that we actually stop more than 100 times the noise power than is required by the regulations. All right. Although I did hear that there had been some complaints, I haven't received any complaints from my neighbours, either in person or in writing. I had a visit from Siobhan Sheridan saying that there had been complaints. I was surprised because I felt that the noise attenuation of the building was excellent, and I agreed with her that I wouldn't make any changes to what we were doing so as not to interfere with her tests, because there's no point me being quiet while she does the tests and then so. On her subsequent visit, she said that she found the noise was excessive, so I've immediately stopped any live music. I've even removed our little PA. I believe we have a good I believe our customers at Crafty Cast are very good. We have a mixed age group, mixed genders, they're well behaved, generally over 35 and upwards. They're not rowdy people. They enjoyed the live music, but that's gone. But they still come to the pub, and the live music is not necessary for our business. It's not our core business. Our core business is selling craft beers, and all our cask beer is locally produced, and it goes down very well with our customers, and that's their main reason for coming there. The music was really, if you like, a thank you to our customers, and but we don't need it, so that has stopped. As far as New Year's Eve is concerned, our licence finishes at 11:30, and I really don't know what to do with my customers at 11:30 on New Year's Eve. I don't feel that I can ask them to leave at 5 to 12 or 10 to 12. I think it would be much better to have them see in the new year, in a controlled situation rather than out on the street. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do if I tell them they have to leave. So I would like to withdraw the application for music. I won't be doing it, but I would still like to be able to stay open until a reasonable time on New Year's Eve. It doesn't have to be 1 o'clock. 12:30 would be fine, but I think it would be a better solution than closing just before midnight. I think that it would be very unfortunate for my customers. It probably doesn't make much difference to me. I'm not going to sell much in the last hour, but I think we provide a good service to the community, and I'd like the opportunity to do that. But thank you.
Thank you.
No, I've got no questions, thank you.
Any questions?
It was said earlier that you were asked to put in insulation, but you haven't done so.
I was asked to put in a plan for sound insulation. At that time, this was done without any knowledge of the existing. I mean, obviously, any building has some sound insulation by virtue of being a building. I felt that because the building already had what I considered to be excellent sound insulation, my application suggested that no further insulation was required, and I'm still waiting for a decision on that. The only guidance I had was the building regulations, and we were far in excess of that. Now, because it's subsequently been found that the live music has caused a nuisance, I've removed the source of that nuisance, and the planning side is an ongoing thing, and I'm waiting for planning to get back to me. In fact, because they've taken so long, I'm now entitled to my fee back, because they've exceeded the 8 weeks. I believe that I've done all that I can. I've put a plan in place, and that plan hasn't been accepted or rejected yet. And I've tried to cooperate fully with all the authorities at every stage, but I feel that perhaps planning should do their bit as well. If they're not satisfied with my proposal, that they should tell me what they want. I mean, I have put a plan in place which says the insulation is adequate. As it transpires, it's not adequate for live music, so I've stopped it.
Does any other party wish to clarify anything?
Yes, please. So just in regards to why we're here, in regards to the licensing objectives, obviously we're objecting on the reasons for public nuisance, although an abatement notice was served. In regards to New Year's Eve and the type of event it is, most people at the strike of midnight will break into song in regards to Auld Lang Syne or something like that, and that is part of the public nuisance objection. That obviously, aside from that a statutory nuisance abatement notice has been served, part of the public nuisance is that Mr Smith has already said that he doesn't know how he's going to control the premises in regards to people leaving at, if the TENS isn't granted. Our concerns would be in regards to how he's going to control the premises at midnight with people breaking into song in regards to trying to fulfil the licensing objective in regards to public nuisance.
Thank you.
I agree that it's probably quite likely that people will sing Auld Lang Syne at midnight, whether they're in my premises or outside, along with everybody else in the world. It's I think a chorus of Auld Lang Syne at midnight on New Year's Eve is not unreasonable. It's a one-off event. It's not a continuing nuisance. It's something that will probably last a few minutes, and I'm sure there'll be lots of fireworks going on at midnight. I'm sure there will be people honking their horns. Whatever happens in Crafty Casks, Rayleigh High Street will not be quiet at midnight on New Year's Eve. Maybe it will be, but that's my opinion. I don't think we will be adding significantly to the noise nuisance on New Year's Eve at midnight.
Thank you, Mr Smith. Do you have any closing statement for 2 minutes?
No,
you have?
I think that's about it.
Thank you. Do any other parties have any closing statements?
Sorry, it was just one issue in regards to Mr Smith said about everybody celebrating. Not everybody celebrates New Year in regards to when you're within a licensed premises, there is that expectation in regards to atmosphere. However, in regards to local residents, some people are people with very young families, elderly, and they don't all see in the new year in the same way that you would be expected to within a licensed premises.
Could I answer that?
If it's relevant, yes.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make is that although we will be making some noise, I don't believe we'll be adding significantly to the noise that will be around at that time in any case. So,
Thank you. The committee will now adjourn for 30 minutes to consider the case and the decision. You do not have to wait, but you are welcome to do so, and the decision will be sent to you in writing. Thank you. Thank you for waiting. The committee has given careful consideration to the application and all of the written and verbal evidence presented, including the objection notice from Environmental Health. We have heard evidence from Environmental Health in respect of 5 separate complaints received from different residents about noise which started shortly after the premises had started operating. Environmental Health visited the premises on the 21st of November and advised the licence holder that noise complaints had been received. Environmental Health also made 2 noise monitoring visits to one of the complainants' homes, and although there was not excessive noise on the first visit, the second visit on the 4th of December resulted in the issue of an abatement notice due to excessive noise from amplified music. On this occasion, excessive noise could be heard from the resident's property. The committee have also heard from the applicant that he had submitted to the planning department a plan for sound insulation on the 3rd of September, and he was still waiting for a decision. He also advised that he had received no complaints from neighbours, either in person or in writing, and only knew there were complaints when the Environmental Health Officer contacted him. He felt the noise attenuation was good. However, after a further visit from Environmental Health and the serving of a noise abatement notice, he removed the PA system and had not had any live music at the premises since. He considered that his customers were reasonable and would not cause unnecessary disturbance to neighbouring residents. Live music was not the core business, which was the sale of local made craft beers. The applicant stated that he would be willing to withdraw the element of live amplified music from the application and would also be willing to close the premises at 12:30 on New Year's Eve, 12:30 a.m. He accepted that people may be vocal in their celebrations on New Year's Eve. However, he did not feel that his premises would significantly add to any noise in the high street. The committee had considered the representation made by Environmental Health and commended the officers for visiting one of the complainant's properties and conducting noise monitoring on more than one occasion. However, the committee does not feel that a counter notice should be served in order to promote the public nuisance licensing objective. The committee considers that the application, with the removal of regulated entertainment and the closure of the premises at 12:30 a.m, together with the conditions in place on the current premises licence, will promote the licensing objective. This concludes the hearing. Thank you all for attending.